So recently, and I shouldn't say recently, the COD Zombies community is kind of obsessed with hot takes right now. Like, hot takes are in. I think we can all agree that sometimes there's just certain opinions out there that are just absolutely ridiculous, and people don't really back up their claims when it comes to them. I gotta say, as a doctoral student who constantly has to back up his opinion, this kind of drives me nuts. But instead of actually analyzing my pet peeves, we're actually gonna go through and do something a little bit different. I posted a community poll on my channel. Well, it was just kind of like a tell me this kind of type thing, and I asked you all to come up with your biggest sins within Call of Duty Zombies. It doesn't have to be anything big, it could be something really small, and I actually got a ton of responses with it. And so today we are going to be breaking down the biggest sins in Call of Duty Zombies from, well, your guys' perspective. Also, I must say, some of the people who did comment on this video are subscribed, so I do have a higher chance of pulling your comment for next time if you are subscribed.
Also, if I sound like complete butt, it is because I am sick, so yay, I'm still recording a 15-minute plus video when I am sick, so love you all.
Anyway, getting right into it, we have the Imperial Jedi who says taking out PhD for most of BO2, especially Die Rise. Now, I actually think there is some history with this one. If we actually need to go back in a time machine, which we are going to here, we're going to travel back to 2011 at the end of Black Ops 1. You're probably thinking, yo, the comment says Black Ops 2, like what gives? Well, I like to go back to Black Ops 1 for reference because Black Ops 1 actually ended the game on 8 perks. Black Ops 1 actually doubled the amount of perks it had. It had the 4 classics of Quick Revive, Double Tap, Speed Cola, and Jug, and then it actually added on the extra 4, which would be PhD, Stamina Up, Deadshot, and Mule Kick. So I think it's safe to say that when Black Ops 2 hit, we kind of as players felt entitled to get these perks returning, but in a matter of fact, we didn't. Transit and Die Rise both hit, we were kind of really limited on perks. Transit only had 6 perks, Die Rise only had 6 perks, and I mean, Die Rise kind of did us dirty because it teased PhD Flopper in the hallway, but you know, it didn't have PhD Flopper on the map. If we actually revisit history, I know Treyarch really wanted to emphasize verticality within Die Rise, and I know if they would have thrown in PhD Flopper in there, it kind of wouldn't negate all the challenges that they threw at us. I have always been one of those people who agree with Imperial Jedi and just wish that they would have had PhD Flopper in Die Rise, but to this day, you know, it is just what it is, and I don't really care too much about it anymore. And besides, Die Rise is just going to be its own little art because, you know, it's Die Rise, and it's getting remade on Custom Zombies anyway, and that will have PhD Flopper, so there you go. I mean, everybody wins. You'll get PhD on the new custom map, and you can watch people play it or play it yourself. It's a good sin to analyze. We're starting off hot. So Caprod writes, the fact that roughly half of all main Easter egg quests require more than one person or player. And I mean, seriously, does Shangri-La require 4 players? They're all just activating Eclipse mode, and then all heavy lifting is done by only 2 players in between. In fact, BO4 was the first game to have only done solo Easter eggs. This is especially sinful when you consider how the Victus maps in BO2 have arguably the coolest and most interesting Easter egg concept. I must say, this comment does bring up a very good point of sinning, which is, yeah, the eggs can only be done solo on certain maps versus other maps. I gotta say that I do agree with the fact that all Easter eggs do not and should not require 4 players. I think back in the time, Treyarch really wanted to focus on that aspect of having a team and building the Easter egg and completing that together. It definitely does add a certain layer of challenge and communication on top of the egg, but at the same time, I really do think that it is cool if you are a solo player and you can jump in and do an Easter egg. I've always felt a yearning to do the Shangri-La Easter egg. At the same time, like all of you, you know, you need 4 players to complete this Easter egg. It's actually, you know, kind of a nuisance because of that. Shang has one of the most beautiful Easter eggs of all time when you switch everything to night mode, but just the needing of 4 players to do that, and then when you actually do have other 2 players in there, they're kind of doing all the puzzle work for you. One really cool thing about the Shangri-La Easter egg is that it can be redone. Literally, you can do the Easter egg multiple times in one game. Like, that's how cool this Easter egg is. And I'm glad Treyarch actually found the formula with this and decided to actually make Moon solo because, you know, once when other maps came out, they did start converting them to solo. Like, BO3 had a bunch of solo Easter eggs in it too. My tip for the future, make everything a solo Easter egg. Yo, like, if you just want to jump in and do the Easter egg, you should be able to jump in and do the Easter egg. Like, that would actually make me so happy. Also, the final statement where he says good luck getting players to play with you, I must say I did get 23 people to play in a grief tournament, and that did revolve around transit, so you know what, it's 2024 and that just happened. And moving on, we have 10k and more says blocking the help door unlocked on World at War literally turned you into the world's biggest knob. I think he means noob. So ever since Call of Duty's inception, there's always been player collision, which means you can stand in doorways and block people off. And I don't know, maybe in other Call of Duty games they got rid of it, but as far as I'm certain, collision has always been a thing with players. I can happily say that I have never been a person to stand in a doorway and block people off in Call of Duty Zombies, because I don't know why people would actually do that. Well, actually, yeah, I do. They'd probably want to troll people. But guys, I gotta say, this is when Treyarch really saw this and took an opportunity with it in Black Ops 2 and made grief mode, because you could literally stand in front of places, cut people off, and you could kill people, and that was so cool. They actually made a game mode for the trolls, and I gotta say, you know, throw grief mode on everything, but apart from that, yeah, staying in the doorway on Noct is not really that cool. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't really seen too many people do this on Noct, especially on BO3, you just don't really see it, but Nocturne Totem or BO1, yeah, might see it here and there. Workaholics Gaming writes, pack-a-punching the M1911 in Cold War, no longer giving you Mustang and Sally. Oh yeah, I can chalk this up as a big old sin. I would almost call this a mortal sin in some cases, because yo, not having a Mustang and Sally in a Call of Duty Zombies game, especially if it's made by Treyarch, like what? You could probably argue and say that the 1911s are a little bit different than the M1911s because you don't have the M. At the end of the day though, a Mustang and Sally is a Mustang and Sally, like come on. Not having a starting pistol, one in general, I think that's one thing, is that they did not have a starting pistol, and so they thought they could change the formula with this, but I swear in Black Ops 6, they better bring back the Mustangs and Sally. Not having the Mustangs and Sallys in the game is almost similar to not having the ray gun. It's just something feels just so off, and just the identity is shifted so much when you're playing Call of Duty Zombies. And even if you never get the Mustangs and Sallys, or it's just a once in a blue moon thing for you, like it's just something super cool to have in the game because it's so classic COD Zombies. Why did they not put the Mustangs and Sallys in Cold War? So in a nutshell, and to summarize it all, yes, you are correct. That is a good old sin. Next up, we have the Commando, and the Commando writes that Chaos never made a comeback. It wasn't everyone's favorite, not even mine, but I can say that the story had way more promise and uniqueness than the bland Dark Ether story we have now. Before we dub this comment as a sin, I think we should break a few things down here. Actually, hold on, I've got no patience. Yeah, I'm gonna dub this a sin right away. I was actually kind of in the same boat as Commando here. I really enjoyed the Ether storyline. I love the premise characters, like they were goated, they were amazing. And then on the other side of the bleachers, you had the Chaos storyline. Yeah, this story got done dirty. I gotta say, the Chaos storyline was really consistent, and the Ether storyline was really starting to like lose a little bit, because you know they had to wrap up the story at the end of BO4, and there were just a lot of things going on with the Chaos and Ether and all that stuff. I think I could find myself talking for hours and hours and hours about Black Ops 4 and everything going on with it, especially with the Chaos storyline versus their storyline and all that stuff. I bet if I actually put a poll on my channel asking you if the Chaos storyline should come back, there'd actually be kind of big support for that. Honestly, I think the biggest sin here is that the fact that these storylines were both in the same game, which they easily could have taken up their own unique games. So you know what? I think that's kind of a bigger sin in my opinion. I mean, who cares about me? Yo, we're here for you. But if you are here for me, I gotta say thank you, and make sure to boop that like button, because yeah, sorry, I had to sneak it in there some way, shape, or form. Next up, we got Aki, or AKI 816, and Aki just writes Vanguard in general, and I don't even need to go into this one at all. Sean 1364 writes, operators, bring back a set group of characters that actually mean something in relation to the storyline. And Sean, all I gotta say is you and 99.99% of the community are on board with this one. I shouldn't have to say it, but I will, because I want to be transparent with you all, is that yeah, I'm a part of that 99.99% of people who just want operators to get blown up and not exist in COD Zombies. You know what? Cool. Keep them in multiplayer. Keep them in Warzone. I think it's actually really ironic because, you know, people who buy operator skins, it's like you can't even see your characters in Call of Duty. Like all you see is their wrist. But anyway, coming from a place of love and joy, I totally miss having characters who will laugh with you, who will share stories with you, just vibe with one another. We as COD Zombies players, and especially as human beings, deserve more than just simple Varrock dialogue, because we've really grown past 2009. Like we've outlived that era, don't you say? If we've been investing our time and our money within this game, like just give us some characters we can relate to and play along with, like these. Here's someone from Treyarch who actually stumbled upon this video, which, you know, welcome to the channel, but also at the same time, like please just craft characters who we connect with and are invested with, because, you know, we want to love them and laugh with them. And Scooby has something really similar and writes, adding all the multiplayer Warzone elements, Zombies is its own thing, operators, minimap, health bars, plates instead of craftable builds, etc. ruins it for me. Once again, yeah, complete sin. I think Zombies is its own unique experience and it should be kept that way. I 100% agree that within a Call of Duty, like Zombies is never going to be the 100% focus, which I understand and I get that, and you need to use assets in order to create other game modes, and that's perfectly clear to me. There is a clear boundary between trying new things and completely changing up the entire formula of what the game used to be, because I'm pretty sure you can think of a clear video game franchise that has definitely ruined itself simply by deviating from what it used to be and has become unrecognizable. Which, speaking of that, a few gamers, 4255s, have left during BO3. Zombies became so complicated and unrecognizable. But I gotta say to this one, yes and no. So the yes part of this comment is as follows. Literally, there is a ton of people who actually left after Black Ops 2 and in Black Ops 3. There was a ton of people actually. Even though Black Ops 3 was largely and massively successful for COD Zombies, there was still a huge exodus of people who left COD Zombies at that time. I think you'd actually be surprised at how many people left between Mob of the Dead to Shadows of Evil. Like, it was actually kind of a lot, even though those maps like Mob of the Dead, Buried, and Origins were phenomenal. And going into Black Ops 3, like, we were super set. A ton of players left during Shadows of Evil because Zombies almost became unrecognizable due to apothecans and all that stuff. And I mean, I loved Shadows of Evil and all the changes that came with it. Some people really just didn't like that Jason Blundell era of everybody needed to do Easter eggs, everyone needed to do side quests. And you know, I get it. If you were one of the people who like classic COD Zombies in BO1, BO3 was a definite shakeup for you, and even in BO2. Even though BO2 was like the perfect hybrid for doing Easter eggs and survival, so I mean, that is just what I'm gonna say about that one. Even though Zombies absolutely grew massively in Black Ops 3, there were still a lot of people, like a few gamers, who took off and packed their bags because, yeah, Zombies did in some way become unrecognizable. Let's do a fun gameplay one really quick, and we have Ryder Shepherd who writes, pack-a-punching the SMR in Black Ops 2 Zombies. I'm gonna be 100% true with you. I don't even want to put the SMR on the screen in the gameplay. I'll just show Black Ops 2 because why not? The SMR is literally terrible, and pack-a-punching it, you get the smiler, and I gotta say, dude, the smiler, it's just trash. Okay, Ferret clearly did it on purpose. They were trolling us, and you know what, we got the smiler, and I think that's just pretty much I want to say about that. You know, forget the SMR, never use it, it's bad, just move on with your life, okay? Please. Next up, we have Herald of Woe with kind of a bigger one. He writes, I left during BO4. The biggest 3 reasons was why the point system was changed. The guns and alternate ammo feeling bad, I understand why now, and finally, because I am certain I am unique to this, is because Easter eggs were disabled with no online. Internet was not something I had all the time during that period, and I play the maps for the Easter eggs nowadays. Survival, especially on BO4, is just not fun anymore, so the fact that I couldn't do basic things like get upgraded Hell's Retriever on Blood when this was never an issue before had me grow apart from the mode entirely until I just gave up. I didn't follow it as closely, stopped playing, though I got around to playing the DLC, I never played them like I played BO3. Oh, also Ether was butchered. Okay, taking this comment apart one by one, there are a ton of sins to highlight in here that I personally agree with, and I think they are definitely deserving of being sinned. I do say so myself. I miss the old point system. I'm pretty lenient on what kind of happens, but if I were actually to go to my favorite point system, which I know World at War through BO3 had the same point system, but Black Ops 1, you could actually see your points accumulate like through the ones really quickly when they went up to a 10. So super cool. It almost felt like slot machine-esque, and I really liked that little touch and feature within BO1. I do agree that no player should have to have internet in order to do an Easter egg. I mean, think about it. Like, what happens one day, one, if you don't even have internet, but two, what happens if your internet goes down on a day? Because that happens to everybody, and you just want to play COD Zombies and do an Easter egg. If you're someone who has inconsistent internet, like, that can be a huge pain. So yeah, I would actually count that as a sin. Also, Harold mentioned that survival just doesn't feel fun anymore in Black Ops 4, and you know what? To certain degrees, I think this is kind of where the cracks start falling within modern COD Zombies games. Black Ops 4 was the beginning where people actually had loadouts, and this changed the gameplay up drastically, and especially when we get into Cold War, the gameplay just like alters into something I have never recognized and seen before as an OG COD Zombies player. It just takes my breath away every time, I swear. Modern Call of Duty Zombies games are really trying to change up how progression works, and this is especially evident within Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, where you know you don't have a restarted linear pattern when you are playing Call of Duty Zombies. You get schematics and you get to save up what you do, which, you know what, that's a whole different thing for a whole different video, but I kind of got sidetracked on that one. Going back to the comment and not getting lost in the weeds on this one, if you actually go back to World at War's Nocturne Tone, it's completely different to what a survival map on Black Ops 4 would look like. In some cases, I really just think it's important to focus over over quality over quantity. Because let's face it, there's a lot of things that could be cut within Call of Duty Zombies that would actually, I think, elevate it a little bit more than what it's like today. Which that reminds me, I gotta ask you, what do you think is actually the biggest sin in COD Zombies? Because I gotta say, players who avoid using this are definitely on the top of that list.